a defender. Soloniak fires, scores!
Hello and welcome on in. Chicago Fire Weekly presented by the Private Bank, the official bank of your Chicago Fire. As we are each and every week live at the Heineken Pub 97 here at the Private Bank Fire Pitch. Fred Hubner, Paul Tenorio, Frank Klopis, and guys, it keeps getting better. It keeps on rolling. 9-game unbeaten streak in all competitions. We'll talk a little bit about the U.S. Open Cup a little bit later, but you go into New England, tough place to play, Frank, and get a victory.
Oh, it was a great result again, and I mean, we talked about it, and I know Paul did a great job just breaking down with his article, just talking about the consistency of the team. And listen, you get to this point of the season, and you are where you are because you are a very good team. It's not by luck. There's no luck in this game. You can get lucky once in a while, but they deserve to be where they are. The team's been very consistent, and again, another very good, an excellent result on the road.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, when I wrote my column this week for 442 about the Fire, it kind of struck me last week when we were preparing for this show. Frank and I were talking about the different ways that New England might approach the game, depending on what personnel they play, what formation. And what I couldn't shake was that no matter how they played, no matter what we got to in that conversation, Frank, I thought the Fire should win this game. The Fire are the better team. And that kind of had me get to a realization point that this team is for real. Mm-hmm. When you expect a team to go into a place and win against the Revs, who have been very good at home, I thought that set a new standard. And I ended up calling Dax about it to ask him kind of when he felt that change. And I thought it was interesting to see, his opinion as well, that over the course of the season, that confidence started to come within the entire group, and they felt that they could beat anybody.
It was New England's first loss at home. They'd won all their games at home before that, going into Gillette Stadium, getting a road win. We talk about it all the time. You protect your home field, and you hope you get at least 1 point. 3 points is great. That's always wonderful. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from the contest last week as the Chicago Fire headed out to Gillette Stadium in New England. There you see Bastian Schweinsteiger playing the game on artificial turf, his first, and since coming over to Major League Soccer. Nice ball here.
It's a great ball, but I mean, you really don't see just the movement in order to create that space from the front runners. And obviously, there's the good first save by Cropper there, but then you give a second opportunity to a guy like Nikolic from there. He's going to bury that one.
Yeah, number 13. That was in the 18th minute of action. We talked about Fagundes a little bit last week, and he was all over, had numerous opportunities, several shots.
Really good look he had in the first half, and obviously he's so dangerous with the ball. He's one of those guys that, we talk about guys being actually fast with the ball at their feet. He's one of those guys.
There we see Dax to Nico. Nico can do more than score. He gets it to DeLu, and then there's Lucio. Soloniak puts it in.
Yeah, I mean, this is what Dax McCarty does best, that third line pass, beats multiple defenders and allows the forwards more room to work, and that's what he was known for when he came to Chicago, and he's been very effective at it this season.
Obviously the goal, I mean, I think this is one where if Lamson looks at it, just the decision of coming out, you come out as a goalie, you got to make sure that you just clear that one. He gets caught a little bit in no man's land, and it's good to have two guys on the poster just clearing those, and bodies around it, just throwing your body, blocking, doing whatever you have to do just to keep those 3 points.
Yeah, the ball bouncing off of Nico's head a couple times. He was thrilled, very excited to get the win, scoring his 13th goal. The Chicago Fire, a 2-1 win over the New England Revolution. 1 point behind Toronto atop the Eastern Conference standings. And for a while there, I know Dan Kelly was super excited because live standings, they actually passed them before Toronto's game was over. But, right there, and it's such a change from the last couple of years being this close and being this good.
Yeah, I mean, I think, for me, a couple things stand out. Early in this season, you look at the best teams in Major League Soccer, and they always have kind of a defined style of play. And I thought that was something that the Fire lacked a bit last year. And when you talked early in the season, what's the style of play going to be? Veljko Paunovic said often he wants to be flexible. He wants to do a lot of things well. And, I wondered how that would work, and I wondered if it would be a detriment. And instead, it's become the strength of this team. They're very, very versatile. They have now the depth to be able to be versatile. They can play three in the back with Schweinsteiger dropping in. They can play more attacking lineup with Soloniak and Accam and DeLu all on the field. They can be a little bit more defensive, Frank, with Juninho coming into the central midfield. So I think the flexibility that this team has, and then the commitment you see defensively at the end of the game, guys like Nikolic DeLu being willing to go out to right wing and work defensively all game. This group understands what is needed to get victories.
They do, but I think that tactical flexibility, I think, is there because of the quality of the players. And it's not so much the formation, because I think we'll talk about it in the next segment. You know, you go into this game, we talked about how New England was going to be a little bit different. You know, they started the game in a 4-3-3 formation, but I thought that the plan going into it and what Pano did, and to have the players that actually can carry out that plan. You know, I think they took away the strengths of New England, and then when the opportunity was there, you saw the movement on both goals. You know, I think the ability to create that space on that first goal, but also on the second goal. Now, they played with a second forward. They left one holding midfielder in Kofi. He gets caught out of position a little bit, and when you give a guy like McCarty the opportunity with no pressure on the ball, he's going to kill you.
The Chicago Fire with a total of 31 points last season, and this year they already have their 31 points after the 2-1 win. We'll talk more about the game against New England, and don't forget, later on in the show, David Accam will join us right here on the couch. It's Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank.
Heineken tastes perfect every single time, and that doesn't happen by accident. It takes 15 years to become a Heineken brewmaster, almost as long as it took me to master this look.
She came to meet a man. She found an angel. Good, ba-da-ba-shaka. What's his name now? Good, ba-da-ba-shaka.
Still practicing. It takes 15 years to become a Heineken brewmaster. There's more behind the star.
The heat will wear you out real quick. And we've been through some hot ones. It's very physical. You gotta take care of your body and stay hydrated, because every moment matters. That's why I drink Advocare Hydrate. I've got a job to do.
Oh, honey, it's time.
To go back to Lowe's? Yeah, this Valspar paint and primer in one really freed up the afternoon. Hey, how do you feel about tackling the kitchen?
Ooh, not great.
Okay, well, maybe we could finish up the basement then. I always wanted to get a pool table down there. I'm a bit of a shark.
And your wife is very much a pregnant chameleon.
Oh, what about a bar?
John.
Yo, that time.
Yeah.
Clean paint starts here. Save time with Valspar's paint and primer in one interior paints, exclusively at Lowe's.
Welcome back in. Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank. We're talking about the 2-1 victory over New England at Gillette Stadium. With the win, the Chicago Fire just a point behind TFC in the Eastern Conference standings. And Frank, you know, a tough place to play, but the Chicago Fire went in and tactically they had an idea what they were going to do, and they pretty much worked their game plan to perfection.
You know what? That's really what I liked the most. And, you know, having an opportunity to watch that game again, Paul, you know, I think that, you know, both teams started playing in this 4-3-3 formation, you know, and you had Schweinsteiger playing a little bit deeper than normal this time, and had Dax really and Juninho a little bit higher up the field, and it was easy for them to pick up on one side Caldwell and on the other side Rowe, but the key was like Kofi sitting deep. I think you saw that early in the game that DeLu was coming inside, so without the ball they wanted to make it difficult for Kofi to get the ball and have any sort of ability to influence the game and build the game from a deeper position. But the other thing also, they had to be aware of the wide guys, because once he comes inside, obviously the flanks would be open on one side, so how would the ability to deal with overloads? You know, New England does a very good job where they bring guys in the middle, which is Fagundes, Wynn, Rowe. They try to overload the middle. They're very good at combining, and then their ability of the outside backs to get forward. And I think the game plan going in with DeLu picking up Kofi, and then we saw how Schweinsteiger was dropping in between the center backs to free up one of the center backs to deal with, you know, with the wide areas or with the guys coming inside better, work to the tee. and then obviously with the ball, their ability to be composed and the movement that we're going to talk about. But I want to go to this one clip, especially just to show their without the ball, their defensive shape, which was spot on. And if we see the shape here, you see Farrell on that side. And you know, so essentially in the middle, DeLu is right there. Then he's ready to pick up Kofi. The ball comes behind. So it gives the ability for Vincent to be a little bit higher. You see when World comes inside now, Myra can pick him up. You see as the ball is switches, Faguna comes inside. Myra can pick up, Kopperhoff can pick him up. Juninho's in a good spot. 3v2 out wide, but also centrally, you have 2v1 in the middle. If the ball gets played out wide, now Paulson can go there. Very good team shape and organization. Very difficult to break down because they're very compact. They're in good distances where, you know, they all can pressure, cover, and provide good balance for the team.
And all of that from Schweinsteiger dropping in that allowed the center backs to move like that. Here you see the first goal. This is a great ball from Matt Polster, but what we want to point out is the movement of the forward line to open up the space for Nikolic to get on the ball behind the back line. And this is what we're talking about here. You see Soloniak check to the ball. That forces Delamea, the center back, out of the space, and it gives Nico the run in behind. He has so much space to go, and it's just perfect timing and a perfect ball by Polster, but it comes because of that Soloniak check back that opens the space for Nikolic to run into it, and I think a little bit of lazy defending on the other side too.
And then similar here, because the second half, you know, they played with two forwards, which left Kofi, the only guy there is the defender. And you can see him there getting caught higher up the field, a little bit flat. And once that happens, no pressure on McCarty. The movement now, you know, with one forward going and the other coming back to stretch the back line and create space in between the lines. And you see it here again, the movement in depth. You know, the other guy coming in, DeLu coming inside, creating those overloads and 2v1 in the middle. Great first touch by Soloniak to tuck that one away. But it's all about the movement. One goes, one comes, space centrally. DeLu coming inside, creating those 2v1 situations. Excellent play now into space in front, and just a great finish by Lucho there.
And Frank, this understanding, especially on the forward line, has improved over the course of the year. I think early on, we didn't see as much of the movement, and I think the first time we started to see it, we talked about Lucho Soloniak's recognition when he came on as a substitute and had the goal where Nikolic checked and Soloniak immediately turned and went vertical. And over the course of the season, we've seen that happen more and more, whether it's David Accam running in behind and recognizing that if he starts that run early, he's got players now that can find him in space and really strengthen him, where when David's on the ball, we've seen Nico's run straight into the box, the kind of delayed runs on the back end. The forward line is starting to get a much better understanding of how to play together and how their runs can complement each other. And that's why we're seeing Soloniak scoring goals, David Accam scoring goals, Nikolic with 13 goals. It's all about that movement and how they complement each other.
You know, the scary thing with me is that this team is getting better. And when you talk about the options and the guys that can score goals, if you look at other teams in the league, for instance, I can take one team, the Red Bulls. They had one guy, Phillips. You know, that's every year he's a guy that, you know, there was a main target, and we would always say, what happens if he doesn't score? But when you look at this team and the ability and the quality of players that they have, that potentially you have 4 or 5 guys that can put up good numbers.
And we've seen, too, when you need to play differently, if a team focuses on taking away service to Nikolic in the box, or they try to play a higher line, oh, you're going to play a high line and risk David Accam running in behind? Okay, well, if you play deep as a back line to prevent David having the space to run in behind you, now you've got Soloniak and Nikolic and DeLu combining underneath you. It is very difficult to defend this team because they can attack you from so many different angles.
It was great also for Soloniak to get that goal, because I know when we went to the last game in St. Louis in the Open Cup, we saw probably one of the best goals you will ever see. And you know,
we've got to take a look at it because it's a goal in the U.S. Open Cup, a 1-0 win over St. Louis. Not a lot of scoring, only one goal, but this is from Vincent.
And I believe for a while, #1 play on SportsCenter and deserving. And look at this finish.
Unbelievable. Only an Argentinian guy can do a play like that.
Here's the slow-mo.
Yeah, did I hit his calf or what? I was so excited.
Don't take it doesn't matter, man. And winning the goal, what a beautiful finish. And
it was a great finish. But you know what does, you know, listen, you could just watch this replay after replay after replay. But we were there. And before even that cross came in, you know, the Fire were able to keep possession of the ball. And, you know, it was like 20 passes. And, you know, what they do with possession is that, okay, they keep it, the space is on. Now the ability to switch the point of attack. boom, 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 and able to strike so quick. And then what a beautiful finish there by Solniak.
And the Chicago Fire will continue with the U.S. Open Cup next Wednesday. That's why our show next week will be on Tuesday. But this week, it's Orlando City coming to Toyota Park, a 7:30 start at Toyota Park as Orlando City comes to town. The first 5,000 fans receive a koozie from Heineken. Heineken presenting the match this coming Saturday. Get on out there. If you can't get out there, you can catch the game on CSN, 7 o'clock pregame, 7:30 kick. We come back. David Accam joins us. Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank.
Go inside the lives of Chicago's biggest sports stars, only on Inside Look, presented by Cadillac. Your questions answered.
They got this big because basketball got this big.
Idols revisited.
They bring the atmosphere and the energy that you need throughout the grind of a season.
And the stories behind the headlines revealed.
It's a special journey and it's a great story.
Catch a new interview every month with Inside Look on CSN. Visit csnchicago.com for listings.
Listen up, basketball fans. Mountain Dew and the NBA are taking 3-on-3 hoops to the next level. The Dew NBA 3X Tour is back, and it's coming to a city near you, bringing you fast-paced basketball action you won't find anywhere else. Come watch local legends go head-to-head as they compete to play on the national stage. Bring your friends, and don't miss out on the hottest hoops competition before it hits the road. For tour dates and locations, visit DewNBA3X.com.
When I finally heard my name called, I think that's when you really realize in some ways your dream has come true.
Chicago takes Jonathan Toews, the Winnipeg native, is the 3rd overall pick.
The next captain is Chicago Blackhawks, number 19, Jonathan Toews.
That's where the new chapter, the story of your hockey career is really beginning.
Hey sports fans, the Bulls Sox Academy, the official youth training facility of the Chicago Bulls and White Sox, is running summer camp in over 50 communities around Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana. These camps are an awesome opportunity for all young fans to learn to play the games the right way, straight from the pros. Besides learning all the fundamentals, each athlete will receive an exclusive stadium tour, have an opportunity to meet current or former players, and much more.
Welcome back in Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank. We are live here at the Heineken Pub 97. Fred Hubner, Paul Tenorio, Frank Klopas, and joining us, 7 goals, 5 assists this year. David Accam. David, welcome. Thank you. The last couple of years have been tough. The team has struggled. How much fun are you having this year so far?
I'm enjoying this. I'm loving the atmosphere. The way we play, I'm loving it because the last 2 years it's been like a torture. We play well, but we still losing. It's not fun losing games, but this is I'm really happy and I'm enjoying the way we play.
David, I've seen, because I've watched you since your time here with the Fire, and this year I've seen an evolution in your game. We always knew of a player that can create something out of nothing with your pace and your ability to beat players and create opportunities for yourself and for others. But I've seen you evolve now. Not only you've changed your game in the final third, your ability not only to beat players, but to get your head up and make that final pass. How have the new players helped your game?
Personally, I wanted to get involved more with the game, like playing the game, not only like in the box and scoring goals. I wanted to get involved, like passing, trying to assist more, and now we have a lot of good players who can see passes even facing their goal. And example, Dax, Basti, and Nico, they're really good players. They know how to play with people and they get involved in the game. So for me, playing with all these good players helps me a lot to also learn something about them.
You feel that you get more space on the field because now you have a lot more quality, and it's hard where they can double and triple team you because you have other quality players. Do you feel that at moments in the game that you find yourself 1v1 opportunities that you can be, where that's what you look for to take advantage of?
Yeah, I think so, because we have Nico that a lot of defenders are worried about, and Lucho, they're doing a lot of movements, and for me, they drag other defenders with them, so I have a lot of space and I can do my own thing 1v1 and get in a good position.
David, I wonder, were you always, like you said, you were kind of waiting for this moment to be able to do more, but for a long time what the team needed you to do was kind of stay high and wide and be fast and show everyone that you were able to beat them that way, and that was the best thing for the team. How has it been to kind of waiting for this moment to show, I'm more than just a fast player. I'm somebody who can get my head up and combine, that can be an assist player who assists as well as a player who scores.
Yes, I wanted to show people it's not just about pace for David Accam, and for me, I was really happy when we had all these players, and now I'm showing people what I can do. I'm not just about the pace. I'm involved more in the team, passing, getting back, and getting in the possession. So for me, I'm happy. I'm showing our fans that I can do more than running at people.
It seems like I mentioned coming in 7 goals but 5 assists, and I think a lot of people, Chicago Fire fans also, and Paul alluded to it, just being able to get the ball to other people. And Nico always seems open. Is Nico always open? He always seems to be open, ready for the ball.
I don't know how he does that, but he's always open. The guy is just hungry for goals, and he wants to be in a position where he will score goals. So I don't know how the defenders don't see him, but for me, he's amazing with his movements. And when you have someone like Nico, you just dribble 1-2 and raise your head, you see him free and just pass the ball to him.
Hey, David, I like to joke around that in the past seasons, everyone was yelling, David, be more selfish. Don't be so selfish. Look, get your head up. And there weren't really guys there when you did get your head up. So you said, okay, I'll just take on another defender. This season, I feel like there have been some moments where you get your head up to pass it, and I'm like, no, David, shoot the ball. How do you find that balance?
Sometimes it's difficult because it gets in your head that people think you're selfish. So I try to be more unselfish and pass the ball, but then I start to make really wrong decision. It happens in the last game I played against Atlanta, where I needed to shoot. Then I tried to be a team player, but that was the wrong decision. But it happens. Sometimes I'm gonna miss it, but I'm enjoying this season with
you got another forward here. I'm sure he knows it's always the battle of a forward. Pass or shoot. Pass or shoot.
The thing is, we love watching him, especially me from that high up, because you can just see the space, and when he gets the ball, I love it when he's running at people, because you saw the one goal where he breaks through, and this is where it was an unbelievable play, because maybe you could shoot, but you cut the ball once, you cut the ball twice. I think a couple guys went for, they had some back problems after that one, and then you find Lucho coming in. Yeah. But talking about defenders, I wanted to ask you, what defenders in the league, in your mind, give you the most problems? And don't tell me slow ones, because maybe you're too fast, they're not quick enough to move.
I think Hedges for Dallas, he was really good when we played against them, and I was surprised. I just pushed the ball fast, and I thought I was alone. Then 2 seconds, he's close to me. I was like, wow, this guy is good. And for me, he's intelligent, he's good with the ball, and defending is amazing.
I've never seen a center back be able to run and catch David like that. And after that game, we both said to each other, this guy Hedges needs to go to the national team, and he got called up. I was worried that David was going to say Seb Hines, but after what happened in Orlando last year, maybe Gale, Seb Hines and Gale, I don't know, because what he did to poor Gale in the
Seb Hines, that one game last year in Orlando, I think the guy pulled both hamstrings trying to
well, remember Gale in the Open Cup, man, you did the move, you put him on a highlight reel for the rest of his career, man.
I think when you do that to defenders, you are happy, but you feel sorry for the defenders because it goes viral. Everyone says it, and it's not good for the defender.
We come back, we'll talk more with David Accam, talk about his adjustment living here. He's been here for a few years now. Talk about also some other things going on. Wait till you see. You think we're dressed nicely? Wait till you see what Dave is going to show us when we come back. Don't forget, get on out to Toyota Park this coming Saturday. The Chicago Fire home against Orlando City. They couldn't score against them down in Orlando City. Hopefully that changes on Saturday. 7:30 start at Toyota Park. The first 5,000 people through the gate get a free koozie as it is presented by Heineken. We come back, we talk more with David Accam right here, Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank.
The blades of a combat chopper spin at 380 RPMs. Not even close to an Echo trimmer. Now that's shock and awe. Power on and on.
We don't give up. We don't quit. We keep going. Day in, day out. We fight on. Why? Because we are champions. Be a champion.
Don't let pain knock you out of the ring. Our hand, wrist, and elbow experts are pioneers worldwide. You need us in your corner. Midwest Orthopedics at Rush. Make an appointment today. After our minimally invasive spine surgery, 80% of golfers maintained or improved their handicap. Be treated by the pros to play more like a pro. Midwest Orthopedics at Rush. Make an appointment today.
What's more powerful than the winds of a Cat 5 hurricane? An Echo backpack blower. So, yeah, it'll clear a path. Power on and on.
Welcome back in Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank. Fred Hubner, Paul Tenorio, Frank Lopez, David Accam, nice enough to join us. And before we went to break, I mentioned we got to show you something that David's got here. And, the shirt's nice, but the shoes are special.
But before I show the shoes, now I know why defenders can't come close to him. I had to borrow Paul's shin guards to put them on because I know he's got a game afterwards. And I'm just going to show the shoes right now. He's got the metal spikes. I got kicked like 4 times. I got to get some ice bags over here. Now I know why defenders don't want to get close to David.
Listen, man, when you talk about metal spikes on the soccer player's shoes, you think of like Beckenbauer with the old studs, not like a forward with spikes on the top.
I thought those shoes were only allowed like in the Greek First Division League, not here, man. I don't know. Or maybe in Ghana. I don't know, David. I don't know.
Come on, this is a designer shoe. Come on.
Okay, listen. Drew Connor was on the show talking about how he has got great shoes, but he doesn't have shoes like this. So
I don't think he can pull this one off. He can't.
No, Drew Connor definitely can't pull. I'll speak for Drew Connor and say he definitely cannot pull them off.
A lot of guys on the Chicago Fire and other people, they made their way to Major League Soccer in one way. You took a different way to get here. It wasn't an easy trip for you to get here, was it?
No, it was a long trip. From Ghana to England to Sweden, then to MLS. It's not been easy, but I always have like determination to become a pro soccer player. And for me, I don't mind where I went to. I just wanted to work hard and get to my destination. I'm now at a good destination. I'm happy to be here.
People don't realize, we hear a lot about the U.S. national team defender Villafania. They call him Sueño because he took part in the Sueño MLS TV program. I don't think people realize, David, that's how you first got your big break. You were on a reality TV program called The Chance.
Nike.
You got discovered there through Nike, and then that started your pro career. How did that happen? How did you find your way to a reality TV show?
You just, as a young player, you just want the opportunities to play. And for me, I was just looking for the opportunities to get into the spotlight. And I had a friend who introduced me to the Nike Chance. It's a program run by Nike. And for me, I went there and everything started clicking for me.
That's pretty crazy. From a game show all the way now to be a star in MLS, it's pretty crazy story.
And then to be here in Chicago, talk a little bit about that, David. How your time being here in Chicago. How happy are you here? I mean, obviously there's tremendous love that the fans have towards you. The club, you see the changes they made this year and in a positive way and where the team is. And talk about your time here and how happy you are to be a part of the organization and the city here.
For me, this year is my 3rd year, and every year I'm really happy to be here because it's a fantastic organization, a lot of good people here, and for me they really take good care of me. And especially this year, we also have like good players coming to the team and we're doing well. And when you win, everything is different. Even though my last 2 years we didn't win, but I was still happy to be part of the organization. And this year is even fantastic because we're winning, we're playing well, and I think we have a good chance of winning trophies this year.
Imagine, you're a player whose name has been always, whenever a window comes close there's mention of David's name in the transfer window. But you've been here now, like you said, this is your third year. You've seen this league grow. In those 3 years, the league has changed a lot with the players that are coming in. Obviously, this team has changed drastically. How do you see MLS maybe helping you improve your game, and how much is MLS now, you think, a destination for players and guys that you probably played with in Sweden?
Every year MLS is growing, and you see the players coming in every year. We have a lot of young players, young, good European players coming in every year. And for me, I'm really proud to be part of this group, because when I made the decision to come here, most people were like, this guy is crazy. You're a good player, you have chances in Europe, but why do you come here? But I saw the league that is going to grow in the future, and MLS is a good standard league that you can play and enjoy yourself, win trophies, and also improve to wherever you want to go in the future.
There are other players from Ghana that you've played against, and one thing I always enjoyed, when you would switch and you'd be on the right side against Columbus, and you get to go against Harrison Afful. How was that, going up against a guy like that?
It's good. I grew up with Harris in the same community in Ghana, so we knew each other since we were young. And for me, he used to be one of the best right back in the league. Maybe not this year, but last 2 years he's been really good. So it's always like really competitive. When I play against him, we always message each other before the game about who is going to win and stuff. So I love playing against him.
I was going to say, do you trash talk in English, or do you trash talk in your native language? What's it like?
Not our English, our native language. It's like we fight in every day.
But how about the center back? He's on the national team also, and I don't think he's too happy for you after the first game. You got the ball and you made this moves. I thought maybe you had your shoes on, these shoes, because your feet were so quick. You went one way, and then you cut around him so quick, and I thought, this is the guy that sees you almost all the time with the national team, but still no way they can stop you.
Yeah, Mensah is a good friend of mine, and he's also a good player. He's played in a lot of places, France, Russia, and people respect him in Ghana. Like, he's a really good defender, but...
What did he say to you after the game when you made that move? He says, come on, how can you do this to your friend?
He was like, you were lucky there. You were lucky there.
So he knows next time he faces Columbus, he'll make sure Mensah knows he wasn't lucky.
Yeah, I know, and I think he will be ready for me as well. He will be ready.
Before we let you go, David, we appreciate you joining us. Home game this weekend against Orlando City. What's it like? What's it mean playing at home? The team has not lost at home yet, 7-0-1. What's it mean being out there and playing at Toyota Park in front of those fans?
One, I think it's all about the fans. We try to give the fans something to enjoy, and second, we also want to enjoy ourselves. We want to go on the pitch and express ourselves, and for us, people think we have pressure. We have no pressure on ourselves. We just want to enjoy and express ourselves. And I think that's what we've been doing. We've been giving the fans like a show, entertainment. Soccer is about entertainment, and that's what we're giving the fans.
We've all enjoyed it this year. Hopefully we'll enjoy it a little bit more even on Saturday, this coming Saturday. Congratulations. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you very much.
David Accam from the Chicago Fire. We come back. We'll break down what the Chicago Fire did against Orlando City, what they can do this coming Saturday. It'll be a 7:30 start at Toyota Park. Get on out there. You can get your tickets at chicago-fire.com. We come back. We'll take a look at what the Fire can do in this matchup on Saturday. It's Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank.
Do you have too many bills but not enough money? Would you like one lower payment for all debt, little or no money down? I'm attorney Peter Francis Geraci. Our Chapter 13 plans stop collections and creditors in one day for as low as $95 every 2 weeks. Get rid of bill collectors and high car payments. Get one lower payment today. Call or click now.
When you need to be debt-free, call 1-800-CALL-PFG. That's 1-800-CALL-PFG.
Hey, bud, you need some help?
No, I'm good. Come on, Mom. You have to go.
We always trusted our Subaru Impreza would be there for him someday. Hey, that's it. We just didn't think someday it would come so fast. See you later, Mo.
Introducing the Subaru Impreza, the longest-lasting vehicle in its class. More than a car, it's a Subaru.
You dream your whole life about being drafted. When you walk up on stage and shake the commissioner's hand, that's the first thing he says to you is welcome to the NHL. It's amazing when it finally happens.
And the winner is
Patrick Kane, shot, score!
Little did I know I'd be coming to such a great city like Chicago, and I think it's amazing how it's worked out.
CSN and Blue Man Group are giving 5 lucky fans a chance to hang out in Wrigleyville all day long. Catch the Northsiders during the day, grab some dinner, then see a Blue Man Group performance at night. Enter today at csnchicago.com/Blue Man Group. From ballparks to amusement parks and hot dogs to haute cuisine, visit enjoyillinois.com for trip ideas. Brought to you by the Illinois Office of Tourism, proud partner of the world champion Chicago Cubs. Illinois, are you up for amazing?
Welcome back in Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank. Time now for Fire Field Vision, powered by NovaCare. The Chicago Fire get ready to take on Orlando City SC. They met Orlando City a couple of weeks ago, and Frank, that was one of those games where Orlando's down a man, Orlando's down 2 men. Chicago Fire had some opportunities late, but one that you would have expected a better result, despite the fact it was down in Orlando.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the last game and then the way it started, there definitely were opportunities there in the beginning of the game. You know, I think changed. I think after the first red card and even after the second with Ocherino, because I felt then, you know, I think there was, you know, the Orlando dropped very deep. They were in the 2 blocks of 4. They were 8-9 behind the ball, and you know, I think that the Fire could have done a better job moving the ball a little bit quicker, getting some more crosses in, being more dangerous that way. And I think that. Look, I think the Heat had a little bit of an impact into that game, and I think really late into the game when they really started moving the ball a little bit quicker, they had some chances.
Well, I think it's kind of one of those weird situations in a game and where they were actually better playing 11v11 against this team, and then, you know, there are moments in soccer where sometimes complacency sets in, not even when you're really aware of it. Like sometimes they say if you score a really early goal, you know, the first or second minute, you'll have a tendency to sit back too much the rest of the game, and you may be the better team, but that goal adversely affects you. And I think this is one of those situations where you have a 2-man advantage, and so as a result, you think, okay, we can keep the ball, we'll boss the game a little bit, and instead, you end up playing a little too slowly. It makes it easy for Orlando that's got 8 defenders back, you know, 25 yards from goal, and it was just a game where more urgency was needed, and you know, in those situations, to break down a team sitting in the box, you've got to get the ball wide. You've got to put service into the box often. They brought Arshakian in for that, and there still wasn't any service coming into the box. I think, you know, it was just one of those weird games.
Yeah, and look, I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago, you know, and sometimes you're up 2 men and, you know, I think the urgency is not there.
Right.
But again, this is a game that, you know, you had Dax away with the national team. I think Juninho was left behind. I think you know, his wife giving birth to their child and stuff. So it's going to be a different game. Plus the fact also that, you know, Orlando's playing tonight. So it just depends what kind of team they're going to field out there come this weekend.
Well, Frank, I think that's there's still lessons to be had in that game. And you nailed it in the sense that Orlando playing tonight in Seattle on turf, they're going to be tired coming in. They're going to have squad rotation. And so I think it's going to be very important for the Fire to start the game the way they should have ended it against 9 men, playing at pace, quickly moving the ball, try to take control of the tempo of the game from the jump, and especially to go after players who might be playing their second round of 90 minutes in a short amount of time. And then, you know, of course, you have to be aware of what Orlando City does well. With no Kyle Larin on the field, they're a little bit better maybe in transition with running in behind the back line, Rivas and Giles Barnes. You know, if Kaká's playing, his ability in transition is very good as well. But I think that the strengths of that Orlando team play actually pretty well into the strengths of the Fire. And to that effect, I think if they are playing at pace quickly in this game, they have a chance to get a couple early goals and really seize momentum. But you have to come out strong.
I agree. So that's why it's interesting for me to see how they approach this game today. They're playing against a Western Conference team out there. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they rotate a team thinking, okay, let's rest some guys, and then really this is a game against the Fire Eastern Conference opponent. This is a team that we have to gain some ground on, and they really, you know, put their best players in this match come this weekend against the Fire to try to get a result there.
We talked earlier about the attack with McCarty and Schweinsteiger and what they're able to do in the middle. Talk a little bit about what the two guys on the sides have been able to do. What Brandon Vincent on one side and Matt Polster, who now is playing, he comes in, he's playing right back, and he's attacking on that right side. What those two have meant to the attack.
I think they're playing both with a lot of confidence, and I think the one thing that the way that the team plays is the wide players really come inside. They overload the central zones, and they themselves look to create overloads out wide because they really keep possession, but possession for a purpose. So when the space is there, you've seen Vincent many times now get forward because he knows he's going to get the ball. You saw the last play, and Paul talked about it weeks ago when they moved Polster to a right back. You have a midfielder playing there. He has good feet. He does really well when he sees the play developing in front of him. When the space is there, he's got the physical characteristics to really cover that whole zone, and he's got very good feet that he can play out of the back.
I think you're going to see a really interesting dynamic in this game if the back line is what you'd assume it could be in this game, depending on rotation. But if Rafa Ramos is at right back and Toya is on the left back for Orlando City, Ramos is capable of getting up and down the field. He's a feisty player, and that battle with Accam would be interesting to watch. Toya likes to stay home. You know Donnie Toya very, very well. I wouldn't be surprised if the tactic is to pull Solignac or Deleu a little bit more central, try to overload against that diamond midfield, and allow Polster to get forward because there's no threat of Toya overlapping up the left side. And that allows you to play around a little bit with overloads in an unbalanced formation.
I mean, if they play Nocerino, Higuita, and Johnson, those three with Kaká in front like they've been playing because they want those three to provide some cover for him, I think that the Fire are going to really dominate the center of the field because, whether they bring the white guys inside and overload centrally, but then they do a very good job now getting it out wide and really moving those three players who have to cover a lot of width of the field, and they do a very good job. Once they get it out and you think you get a little bit unbalanced, you have the play, if Juninho plays, if Dax plays, those guys, at any time you stretch those lines, their ability to see that space quickly and to see that pass. And for me, what I like, and I talk about McCarty and Schweinsteiger and Juninho, they're three players that once they play forward, they're all passes that can lead to something. They're all dangerous passes because they all break lines.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens this coming Saturday. That was Fire Field Vision, powered by NovaCare. The Chicago Fire getting ready to take on Orlando City SC this Saturday, 7:30 start at Toyota Park. Get on out there. The game presented by Heineken. The first 5,000 fans through the gates receive a koozie from Heineken. We come back, we'll take a closer look at Orlando City SC, the opponent for Saturday. It's Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank.
What's more powerful than the winds of a Cat 5 hurricane? An Echo backpack blower. So, yeah, it'll clear a path. Power on and on.
Time to update the guest room, Val?
Yep, I'm using one of Valspar's low-odor clean paints.
Ooh, I can tell. My sense of smell is very acute.
Oh, I'm sure, honey. Now, if I could just pick a color.
Well, looks like you narrowed it down. Blue or pink? Blue or... Wait a minute, Val, are you?
Yes! John, you still with me?
Clean paint starts here. Get Valspar's full line of low-odor interior paint exclusively at Lowe's.
Find a location near you at chicago-fire.com/youth.
NovaCare is the right choice for all athletes. As the exclusive provider of physical therapy to the Chicago Fire, we know the importance of keeping you active. Our sports medicine program, along with our movement assessments, aids us in finding your weak link and designing a program for you. We offer a full array of home care products so you can continue your care when you're not here. To request an appointment at any of our convenient Chicago locations, visit NovaCare.com today. NovaCare, the power of physical therapy.
The blades of a combat chopper spin at 380 RPMs. Not even close to an Echo trimmer. Now that's shock and awe. Power on and on.
Welcome back to Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank. Each and every week, we are at the Heineken Pub 97. Next week, we'll be doing the show on Tuesdays. The Chicago Fire get ready for their U.S. Open Cup match in Cincinnati on Wednesday. Time now for the Valspar Primer, presented by Valspar, the official paint of your Chicago Fire. The Orlando City comes to town this weekend after a 0-0 drawback on June 4th. We talked about it. They have a midweek match. There'll probably be some rotation. One of the guys that's on their back line is a guy that a lot of, he came to Major League Soccer now, Jonathan Spector. How is he doing with them? Has he helped solidify that spot? You guys were just talking in the last segment about some of the people on the back line. How has he been in the center back position?
I think for them, he's been very good. I think, the one thing for Orlando going into this year, I think they needed to really bring some players and get that back line stronger. They were able to bring him centrally, where I think that, he's athletic, he's good in the air, he has good feet, he's got a lot of experience, he's a competitor, he's a winner, very good guy. And then obviously bringing, for me, a guy on the left back, Donny Torre, that I know extremely well because I had him in Montreal, another very good defender, very athletic, and I think Sutter, and I think their intentions going in is that, look, they wanted to improve the team, but a big focus for them was the back line.
They needed to have a leader on the back line, and that's what Jonathan Spector's been. He fits that team very well in how emotional he is, but also how strong he is in organizing the rest of the team around him. And I think he's been exactly what they needed on that back line. And for me, Ike Opara right now is the MLS Defender of the Year. Matt Hedges in Dallas is right there with Ike, and I think Jonathan Spector is the third name that you mentioned in MLS Defender of the Year race.
Well, Kyle Larin not there. Rivas, I know Rivas, now he's their man up top, right?
Yeah, big change there, right? Kyle Larin, obviously, with the DUI, is in a program right now. We haven't heard yet what the official suspension will be, but he's a big physical presence. He's able to hold up play a little bit and also get into the box and create problems for defenders. Rivas relies a lot more on his pace. He doesn't see a shot he doesn't like. I know Frank will say that much, but he's actually a quality player. I mean, this is a guy, if he has the right opportunity, he can score goals, he can be dangerous, and he's got a ton of pace. So you have to be careful not to give him room to run in behind.
Well, that's the thing. It depends how they line up. If they play with Rivas and Barnes on top, there's definitely a lot more pace in transition. Guys that can get behind you. And Paul's right. Rivas, look, I mean, he does, he will shoot. He's got an unbelievable shot when it's on target. But you know what? If you want to score, you got to take some risks. You got to take some shots. But I think for me in the final third, I think really what makes this team go is a guy like Kaká. His quality, his ability to beat guys and create stuff. Because in the end of the day, look, if I'm a coach, I can take you from point A to point B. But you know what? From B to C, you need some quality players. And this guy is a quality player. He can. I think in the final third, he's got that quality that very few players do have. He can create by himself. He can score. He can make the final pass. He's got the vision. He's very good at combining. The thing with him is that we often talked about is that without the ball, how can you put players around him? You can give him that freedom and ability to stay, and he doesn't have to come back and defend so much. If you do that, and you give him the ball in the right moments in the final third, he can be very dangerous.
Having seen Kaká play through the entire first season in MLS when I was in Orlando covering the team, I think what I saw was a lot of times he would get frustrated if he wasn't finding the ball in the final third of the field. And he wants to be on the ball. He's a quality player, so he keeps dropping deeper to look for the ball. That's what the Fire have to force to happen. Whether you bracket him, one of the defensive midfielders, and the center back that's stepping higher, however you do it, deny that pass to Kaká in the final third, because if he's picking up the ball on the other side of midfield, that's just fine. I would also say people don't realize Kaká is probably at his best right now in his career when he's running at you in transition. His vision is so good when he's running at you, and he's a very powerful, strong player that you are at a disadvantage. If you step too quickly, he'll play the right pass and behind. If you don't step, he has enough burst left to beat you with that one step and hit a shot on goal, and he's still very accurate. So that to me are the scenarios you want to avoid. Deny him the ball in the final third as much as possible, try to frustrate him, and do not allow him to turn and run.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with Paul, because in the final third, if you take him, You take this guy, Garcia out. I think those are the guys that do have some creativity. But you put him on the right. He's a left-footed player. He likes to come inside. I think that's where the Fire's strength is. But those are, a couple of the players that I think they can add something different to this team.
Frank, you probably know this better than anyone as a former pro, but an interesting player to watch over these next two games is Matias Perez Garcia. He has about 10 days left on his contract with Orlando City. It ends at the start of the July window. They have to make a decision whether or not to renew him. They're in negotiations. If they don't renew him, he'll end up going back to Argentina. He stated publicly he wants to stay. He scored a goal in the last game. I imagine he's going to want to produce in these next two games, do everything he can to convince Orlando City to re-sign him and pay him what he wants. I think, and you know that as a coach and a player, when a player's on a contract situation like that, usually you see them play kind of at an elevated level.
No, for sure. But for me, it's like, Christ has been there already from last year. So this guy's decision, he should know the player. He's been watching him in practice. He's been watching him in all these games. If he needs the last 8 days to make his decision, then I think that maybe they made the wrong choice of bringing him there.
We come back, we'll have one more segment. We'll take a look at Major League Soccer. We'll take a look at what's going on as the Chicago Fire get ready to take on Orlando City SC this coming Saturday, 7:30 at Toyota Park. Get your tickets to chicago-fire.com. Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank.
Go inside the lives of Chicago's biggest sports stars, only on Inside Look, presented by Cadillac. Your questions answered.
They got this big because basketball got this big.
Idols revisited.
They bring the atmosphere and the energy that you need throughout the grind of the season.
And the stories behind the headlines revealed.
It's a special journey and it's a great story.
Catch a new interview every month with Inside Look on CSN. Visit csnchicago.com for listings.
Hi, Russ for U.S. Waterproofing. Looking for a company to repair your home can be stressful. Look to us, as many of your neighbors have, like Mrs. O'Brien in Elmhurst. We sealed cracks in her crawl space. Or Mr. Weber in Orland Park. We installed a battery backup sump pump. And Mr. Kaplan in Northbrook. He needed structural repair after he noticed cracks in his brickwork. We've helped many of your neighbors. Schedule your free consultation today at uswaterproofing.com. U.S. Waterproofing, a better basement starts with us.
From Lethbridge,
I heard my name.
Brent Seabrook.
It's almost like you black out, like you don't really remember much, and then remembering from the videos and the clips that you see after.
Seabrook on the right line to score!
It was unbelievable to be selected by the Hawks and join the organization for sure.
Before each week's NASCAR race, enter the Chicagoland Speedway sweepstakes at csnchicago.com/speedway and tell us who you think will win that weekend's race. Then be sure to tune in every Tuesday to CSN as the president of Chicagoland Speedway, Scott Paddock, joins Sports Talk Live. If he randomly selects your entry, you'll win tickets to the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Tale of the Turtles 400 on September 17th in Joliet. Plus, you'll be entered to win the grand prize, a trip for two to the 2017 NASCAR Awards ceremony in Las Vegas.
Welcome back in Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank. Fred Hubner along with Paul Tenorio and Frank Klopas, and Gold Cup rosters. The preliminaries came out a week or so ago. The rosters will be coming out later on this weekend. And we saw Dax McCarty with the U.S. men's national team wasn't able to get into any games. This would be a perfect opportunity for him.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we talked about coaches knowing players, Jason Kreis and MPG, but Bruce Arena knows Dax McCarty. He's coached against him for many, many years, and that's why one of the first things he did as national team coach coming back in was to call Dax into January camp. And I think even as he knows Dax's quality, I think he also understands that this is a big tournament for Dax McCarty to show that he can take it from MLS and use it on the international level. I would not expect Michael Bradley to be a part of this camp until the final rounds. Remember, in the Gold Cup, you can call players in late. So it's a big chance for Dax McCarty to step into that number 6 role and to really, frankly, be one of the leaders of the U.S. national team if he's called up on this final roster on the weekend.
No, I agree with him, and I think you look at this Gold Cup, and I think it's a different situation for all the players. And I think for Dax, I think it's important for him to get some international matches, because I think the pace of the game and stuff, I think it's a little bit different, the atmosphere, the pace of the game than the league. So I think this is a guy, I mean, Bruce called him in. He's seriously thinking about him as one of the guys there. So I think he's in a different situation than some of the other guys where I think there may be first opportunity coming in, getting a look at it at the next level, and maybe expanding that pool that you have of players.
And he's not the only person trying to prove himself at that position. I imagine Will Trapp will be involved in this team as well, so there will be a competition. Other players interesting to watch in this situation. Matt Hedges, I think, is going to get a chance to start some games. And Dom Dwyer could make his debut in a U.S. national team jersey this summer. He's a player who I think has a chance to make the World Cup roster because of his hold-up ability, very similar to what Josie Altidore and Bobby Wood do. You like to have those similar styles on your bench to call upon in a tournament like the World Cup, but he's going to have to do it at the international level in the Gold Cup to earn that spot.
Is it more difficult getting ready with the Gold Cup when you're in the middle of World Cup qualifying?
For sure, and I think one of the things Bruce said was the results of these last two games was going to dictate the type of roster he brought in. If they had struggled at Mexico and not gotten the result at home, Bruce was going to call in a full squad, so they had more time to work together before what would have been really important September qualifiers. Because they got 4 points out of those two games, it gives them a little bit more flexibility to bring in some new faces, and that's why you see guys, or I think you will see guys like Dom Dwyer, Dax McCarty, Jesse Gonzalez, and Bill Hamid in goal, Matt Hedges at center back, because you want to start seeing Eric Lehigh possibly at fullback. You want to start seeing these players and say to yourselves, which one of these guys, or two or three of these guys, is going to make it to the World Cup roster? Because I promise you, every year in this Gold Cup, before World Cup, somebody gets that opportunity.
It'll be interesting to see exactly who makes the roster, as they will be announced later on this weekend. Also, don't forget U.S. Open Cup play next Wednesday. The Chicago Fire taking on Cincinnati at Cincinnati. And this weekend, the Chicago Fire against Orlando City SC, 7:30 at the Toyota Park. Get your ticket, chicago-fire.com. We wanted to end the show with a very sad note. The passing of former U.S. women's national coach Tony DeCicco took everyone by surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly would have to be considered one of the legendary figures in U.S. soccer history. Won an Olympic gold medal as coach of the U.S. women's national team, and of course was the coach during that iconic 1999 World Cup win at the Rose Bowl.
No, I agree with you, Paul. I mean, I was never fortunate enough to have had the opportunity to meet Tony, but all the people that I know that were fortunate enough to get a chance to know him and to know him well, spoke very high of him, and really a tragedy. And I mean, obviously, thoughts and prayers at a difficult moment like this are with his family.
Yeah, our condolences to the family, and also all of the young ladies who played for Tony DeCicco for that '99 team and other teams in Major League Soccer. I mean, in the World Cup. And it's
inspired generations.
Yeah,
generations
no doubt.
of women's soccer players.
Generations of women's soccer players. Tony DeCicco passing away.